Everyone pictures the same scene when they imagine winning the lottery. Confetti, cameras, a novelty check the size of a door. Nobody ever pictures the 5 minutes right after, sitting alone at a kitchen table, staring at a slip of paper that just rewrote your entire life, and realizing you have absolutely no idea what to do next. My name is Jeff Whitfield, and welcome to My Money Mindset. I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't advice, but my goal here is to help you improve your mindset around money. Picture it. Just another Tuesday. You grab gas, grab a coffee, and on a whim, grab a ticket you almost didn't buy. Hours later, you're comparing numbers on your phone, half paying attention, until the second number lands and something in your chest goes very still. By the third match, you've stopped breathing. You check a second website, then a third, hoping one of them tells you that you made a mistake. Because if you didn't, nothing about tomorrow looks the way you thought it would. $580 million. Not someday. Tonight. And here's the strange part nobody warns you about. You don't scream. You don't call anyone. You fold the ticket into a book on a shelf nobody touches, and you sit there in total silence because some instinct already knows the real danger was never losing the ticket. It's someone finding out you have it. That first night, you barely sleep, checking on the ticket every couple of hours, not because you think it's gone, but because your brain still refuses to accept it's real. Morning comes, and the world looks insultingly normal, while your entire future has quietly rearranged itself overnight. Your thumb hovers over your phone. Call your mom, text your best friend, tell someone, anyone. Then a second thought elbows in front of the first. The moment you tell one person, it stops being your secret. One becomes two, two becomes a dozen, and the story stops belonging to you at all. People start seeing an opportunity or an obligation, sometimes both in the same sentence. Winning doesn't just hand you money. It hands you everyone else's expectations, and those travel faster than any headline. So instead of celebrating, you spend the next day reading, not about yachts, but about something far less glamorous: how winners actually claim a jackpot without losing their whole life to it. The smart ones slow everything down, because one rushed decision in week one can trail you for 20 years. The next morning, you don't call a real estate agent. You walk into a small law office with a coffee machine and old magazines, the kind of room that looks nothing like it's about to shape the rest of your life. The attorney doesn't ask what you're planning to buy. He asks who else knows. You say nobody, and for the first time since checking those numbers, someone actually looks relieved to hear it. He explains something obvious once you hear it. Money this size doesn't need protecting from the market. It needs protecting from people, from lawsuits, from attention, from decisions made before the cash even lands. Trusts, an estate plan, entities built to put distance between your name and your fortune. Hours of paperwork, no sports cars, just signatures and plans for problems that haven't happened yet. That's the entire point. The wealthy don't build protection after the money shows up. They build it first. A few days later, you're sitting across from your attorney and a tax specialist, and a laptop between you shows the number everyone actually wants to know. The headline said, 580 million. That's not what you control. Once you pick a payout option, once federal and state taxes take their share, once fees are paid, the number shrinks fast. You don't feel cheated. You feel like you finally understand the difference between rich on paper and wealthy in reality. The advisor watches your face and says something you won't forget. Stop looking at what disappeared. Look at what's still sitting there. Even after everything, it's enough to make work optional for the rest of your life, and several after it. And that creates a brand new problem. What do you actually do first? The answer isn't shopping, it's waiting. Your team tells you to change almost nothing for months. Same car, same house, same routine, because the whole point is giving the excitement time to fade before you make anything permanent. It sounds impossible when you're suddenly one of the wealthiest people in the country, but that discipline is exactly what decides whether this money lasts 20 years or your entire life. So months pass, and from the outside, nothing changes. You still leave for work at the same time, still shop at the same grocery store, because the real luxury was never a bigger house. It's privacy. Quietly, you build something nobody can see: separate accounts, real investment managers, insurance you never needed before, documents updated and locked away. Every dollar finally has a job before it's spent. Then comes the hardest part. Having the money doesn't mean you have to use it. The temptation shows up everywhere: a bigger house, a private plane, watches that cost more than a car. Before every purchase, your team asks one plain question. Does this improve your life or does it just announce your bank balance? So instead of trying to look wealthy, you start trying to become invisible. Investments compound quietly. Real estate produces income whether you're watching or not. The less attention you draw, the faster it all grows. Keeping the money quiet turns out to be easy. Keeping your face steady is the hard part. Your best friend calls one night, frustrated about a car repair and a mortgage payment that just jumped, joking that winning the lottery would fix everything. You laugh because that's what you're supposed to do, but it costs you something. The secret isn't protected by silence. It's protected by performance, by reacting exactly the way the old version of you always would have. Family dinners get harder too. Someone mentions medical bills, someone else mentions retirement they're not sure they'll ever afford, and you sit there knowing you could erase every bit of it with one transfer, knowing that doing it would force the one question you've spent months avoiding. Where did this come from? Generosity, it turns out, has its own price tag. Keeping a secret this size isn't one decision. It's hundreds of small ones every week, every invitation you edit, every sentence you soften before it leaves your mouth. Not out of shame, out of protecting the ordinary life you fought to keep. And the strange part is the money stopped being the source of your stress months ago. The silence became the stress instead. Almost a year in, nothing has slipped. Then one ordinary Saturday, a birthday dinner, kids running through the yard, someone flipping burgers, the conversation drifts to inflation and retirement, the way it always does. Your brother sighs that he doesn't know if he'll ever be able to stop working. Your mother worries out loud about medical costs. Someone jokes that everybody just needs to win the lottery and the table laughs. You laugh too, but this time it hurts, because you already know the answer to every problem in that room, and you pass the ketchup instead of saying a word. Driving home that night, you realize something uncomfortable. Protecting your privacy also built a wall, not because you changed, but because you're constantly managing which version of yourself people are allowed to meet. The secret has stopped being tiring financially, it's tiring emotionally. Then a local paper runs its yearly list of the state's biggest lottery winners. Your name isn't on it, which feels like relief for exactly one paragraph. Then you keep reading, and the article describes exactly how anonymous winners tend to hide: trusts, shell entities, quiet property purchases. People don't need proof anymore, they just need a pattern to notice, and the person most likely to notice isn't a stranger. It's someone who's known you for 15 years. By year 2, something shifts. You stop checking the balance, not because it isn't growing, but because it no longer needs you watching it. For the first time in your life, money isn't something you're chasing. It's just running in the background. The number that once felt impossible has become ordinary, not because it shrank, but because you adapted. Humans adapt to almost anything, even $580 million. And that's the trap a lot of winners fall into, chasing another spike of excitement instead of just living. You choose something different. Instead of upgrading your lifestyle every year, you upgrade your freedom. You travel when you want to. You work only where it means something. You stop measuring your life by a number in an account at all. Then one evening your phone rings from a number you don't recognize. A journalist introduces himself, polite, professional, and says the sentence that stops your heart. I think I've figured out who really won that jackpot. He explains he's been tracing anonymous winners for months, through property records and business filings. Nothing that proves anything on its own, but together, it tells a story that points uncomfortably close to your address. You tell him he has the wrong person and end the call. Then just sit there in a house that suddenly doesn't feel as private as it used to. Your attorney spends the next few days reviewing every trust and filing you've built, and the review brings real relief. It's solid. The journalist has a theory, not proof. But something in you shifts anyway because you realize your biggest fear was never being discovered. It's losing the peace you built. You start asking yourself how much privacy is actually enough when protecting it has quietly become a second full-time job. That night, Linda asks you something you've been avoiding for years. If nobody ever finds out, what was the entire point of winning? The question just sits there, and it changes something. For the first time since buying that ticket, you stop thinking about protecting the fortune and start thinking about what it was actually supposed to do. You didn't spend years guarding your privacy just to become trapped inside it. So instead of asking what else to buy, You start asking what this money can keep doing long after you're gone. The conversations with your team shift from luxury to legacy. You quietly fund scholarships for kids who remind you of yourself, not attached to your name. You back medical research through a foundation nobody connects to you. You invest in housing projects that give families a real shot. The money keeps growing, but now it grows alongside purpose. Wealth has two stages: making it and then giving it direction. And most people never reach the second one, not from lack of money, but because they never stop chasing more of it. One afternoon, you drive past that same gas station where all of this started. Same building, same fluorescent lights, someone walking in for coffee, someone else grabbing a ticket without a second thought, exactly like you once did. You think about going in just to remember who you were before one small piece of paper split your life into a before and an after. Instead, you just smile, start the car, and drive on. Years pass quietly after that. Years without checking your balance before paying a bill. Years without wondering if one bad month could take everything down. The money bought comfort and security and options, but the real change was never something you could put on a statement. You stopped saying yes to things you hated. You stopped burning weekends just to get ahead. Your future stopped being run by fear. One evening, you open an old drawer and find the original ticket, sealed, a little faded now. You hold it for a second, not because of what it's worth, but because of who held it first. Someone who thought financial freedom was a fantasy, someone who had no idea the richest feeling in the world would turn out to be waking up in full control of your own time. You put it back and close the drawer, not to hide it, just because you don't need proof anymore that it happened. Sitting alone on the porch one night, no phone, no noise, just wind moving through the trees, you finally ask yourself the question you'd been avoiding. Was it worth it? At first, the answer feels obvious. Of course it was. The security, the freedom, the ability to help people without wrecking your own future. But a quieter answer shows up right behind it. Winning didn't just hand you money. It asked something back. Patience, discipline, and more silence than you ever expected to carry. It didn't erase your problems. It just traded the old ones for new ones. You look toward the house and hear Linda laughing with family inside, a sound you almost missed while you were busy protecting everything around it. And you realize that sound is the whole point. The real mistake would have been treating the money itself as the finish line, when it was only ever a tool, a powerful one, but still just a tool. The actual goal was always the life it made possible. The quiet mornings, the freedom to choose your own hours, the ability to help without needing anyone to notice. Money never really builds your character. It just makes more of it visible. If you're impatient, it hands you bigger ways to be impatient. If you're generous, it hands you bigger ways to give. And if you never figured out who you were before the money showed up, more zeros just make that question louder. The best investment you ever made wasn't a stock or a piece of property. It was learning to think before acting, to protect your peace over your image, and to remember that the people at your table are worth more than anything sitting in an account. That's what real wealth actually looks like. Not the ability to buy anything you want, but waking up knowing you don't have to sell your time to survive, that your family is taken care of, that your money is working even while you sleep. So ask yourself the same question you'd have to answer. If everything changed overnight, would you just spend it? Or would you become someone worth all of it? Because the richest person in the room was never the one with the biggest number. It's the one who stopped needing anyone else to know it existed at all.